Tell me
Okay.
about what you do. Like what, based on what Diva was telling me, it seemed
Okay.
extremely intriguing to me. She talked about
Yeah.
this aquatics endeavor that you have, right? But
Yeah.
that's not the only thing, as you mentioned right now. So tell me about everything that you have going on in that farm, in that facility where you work out
Yeah.
of.
Okay. So briefly about everything. So I was born and brought up in this farm. This farm has about 200 years heritage history, and my grandfather was a Sahakari Ratnaiza. He has built done a lot of work in cooperative sector. And my parents both were agriculture scientists. They are. They're both PhDs. My dad is Krishi Pandita awardee. Is also uh, leading person in organic farming, not just in India, and internationally as well. They've presented their papers in International Forum for Organic Farmers Movement, World Conferences several times. Um, my mother has published papers in many science journals as well. So they've been working on this farm since the last 3 decades. And this is one of the first organic farms, organic cacao farms, mixed crop farms in India. So I grew up here. And then for my education, I went to Australia. So all this time I was swimming, not super professionally, but at school levels and at national levels, I was swimming. And I did my bachelor's in biotechnology, and I wanted to do my master's in agriculture biotechnology. So I went to Australia in 2007 for my master's in plant biotechnology at University of Adelaide. So I was in Adelaide from 2007 to 2012. So during that time, it was expensive there, so we had to get a part-time job. So I got a part-time job in a swim school. I started off as a swim teacher. Um, I was working as a poolie as well, but then I slowly got promoted to be a teacher of all levels, and then a swim coach, and then a customer service officer, then into a supervisor, and then later I got offered a full-time job of coaching director. So when I got offered that, I was still working part-time in the swim school, and I'd finished my master's in Uni Adelaide, and had gotten a job with Lorico Biological as a technician, lab technician there, which I was not enjoying. So I quit my science job, and I joined the swim school. Although what I studied was molecular biology, quite cutting edge stuff. So we were basically working on remapping the barley DNA to have a thicker stem so that it wouldn't fall off because of heavy winds, and it wouldn't be harvested with the combined harvester. This was a project, but that goes totally against what my parents' philosophy is on organic farming, not to um, tamper with the nature so much. And I was more than that, I was enjoying working in a swim school, so I took up the job of coaching director. I was initially coaching coordinator, and later on 2009 I got took that job. 2010 I was promoted as a coaching director for 3 swim school in a swim school called State Swim, Australia. They're premium swim schools in Australia. Yeah, I worked there for another 2 years till 2012. And in 2012, I decided to come back to India. When I came back, initially I was working with my parents in their agriculture research center and production of biofertilizers and working in the farm. But obviously, yeah, your home is where your heart is, right? So, which is the sport. I loved swimming, swim coaching, and I had a very good understanding of the sport because I worked in pretty much all different levels in a swimming pool, like from being a pool cleaner to a poolie to a filtration guy to level teacher of beginner level to the topmost level, and then end up being mentor for coaches. So I had about 24 coaches in 3 different swim schools, about 900 kids in Australia. So that was a good thing. And I was always dreaming of producing an A-cut Olympian for India, which has never happened. Like we are far, far from it. This year is probably the closest we are forever. I mean, in the history, but we haven't had a A-cut qualifier in India, which is a big shame. A country like US has 1,200 swimmers who can do the A-cut. Yeah, 2012 I came back, and incidentally, what happened was I used to go swimming in a nearby pool, which is not near, which is like 22 kilometers away. We live in a village, and this town was Puttur. Puttur has a population of about 60,000 people. And so that started going really well. There were a bunch of swimmers. I mean, Puttur is known for strong genes. There are a couple of Olympians coming out of there, like weightlifters or runners, kabaddi players. So that went really well. 2012, I started going coaching, and to the point came wherein parents started asking me to come regularly. When I started doing that, I got questioned by the local government, who are you to come regularly? And I was able to produce all my documents of my experience to the local assistant commissioner, and he was really nice, and he just straight away asked me if I want to take the swimming pool, because they couldn't manage it. The pool is very technical stuff. Like, if you don't know how to manage it, it's lost in making any profits. It's always a loss. So I was able to take up the pool on lease for Varanashi Swimming Academy in 2012 December, and because there was no interruption, we were able to bring whatever I've learned in Australia straight in here. And luckily, there were a lot of parents who were willing to do volunteer work, because financially it was just not possible to do what we were doing in Australia here unless we had the volunteers. And also, we have volunteer program in the farm. We have people from all different nationalities come and stay in the farm for 1 month, 2 months, up to 9 months, and doing voluntary work. So I was able to involve them and a couple of really smart young people in ex-swimmers of Puttur who left their job. Like, they did MBA, they were working in companies, they left it, they joined me as a coach, and it's been a long journey ever since. Today, right now, I'm training 6 international swimmers, including a world championship swimmer, who's an Olympic hopeful. That journey is long, but after 2012, we've done quite a bit. So basically, 2012, one of the first thing what happened was connection with Oswim. You can check it out, AUSTSWIM. Oswim is basically started in the 1970s in Australia. This is a teacher training program. When if you want to be a swim teacher in Australia, you have to pass your Oswim certification course. So we tried bringing it to India. Ex-Olympian Hakimuddin, he was one of the founders of Go Sport Foundation. So he, with this company, Winning Matters, brought Oswim to India, and I was the first Indian presenter to be trained under Kerry Weeks. She was the chairperson of Tasmanian Oswim. So then we started training Indian swim teachers, because India had the concept of having swim teachers. Now, swim teachers are very different to swim coaches. Swim coaches, you can compare them as professors, whereas swim teachers are primary school teachers. And this pathway is always in swimming. The long-term athlete development plan is learn to swim, swim to train to train, and train to race. In India, it was learn to swim was 2 months of summer camp. They would put them into advanced batch, and then they start training to race to win medals. This is exactly why we are not performing in India, because the fundamentals are completely wrong, and kids just burn out. They're not going through this long development system. Instead, they were rushed through. So this is why Osmo is very important for India, and we brought it here now. There are over 500 teachers have been trained in Oswim. There have been government projects as well in this. And there are swim schools now doing the right thing. So we're still 8 years before we can start challenging the world in terms of competitive swimming, if we've gone through this long-term athlete development. But anyway, so 2013, we were able to bring Oswim to India. At the same time, I got connected to Rashtriya Life Saving Society, which is a member of International Life Saving Society. And do some projects with the Surf Life Saving Australia. Now, Surf Life Saving, I don't know if you've heard. Have you seen, if you guys have seen Baywatch, Surf Life Saving is basically Baywatch without the glamour. So it's actual stuff to rescue people who are in distress in the sea. So this was started in Australia again back in 1905. It's like 115 years old. So what they do is they have these nice hip surf clubs on the side of the beach. And what they do is they start training kids, the local kids, from the age of 6 to come to the beach, clean up the beach, do some sporting activity in the beach, which directly relates to life-saving skills. So while they're playing games, they're actually learning how to save a person. This is a massive curriculum for that. So under the AIC grant, Australia-India grant, through Rashtriya Life Saving Society, we did a project in Mangalore where we trained about 38 nippers. Nippers are basically surf lifesavers, but young ones between the age of 6 was too young. No parent of a 6-year-old would send the kid to beach, but we could get the kids of between 8 to 14-year-olds, and we did level 1 of nippers training program. So this was a weekly once program. So what it does is you train the kids for 2 hours a week. Once they reach the age of 16, after their 6 or 7 years of training, they become surf lifesavers. They have to pass a very excruciating test of running, swimming, pulling somebody out of the water, going through the waves with the paddleboard. It's a test. So if they pass it in Australia, they become surf lifesavers. And if you're a surf lifesaver, when you earn that SLS T-shirt, if you wear it and go to a mall, everybody will look at you and like nod, give you a nod. Like they respect you that. And these surf lifesavers also get free membership for the fancy life-saving clubs on the side of the beach. But they have to spend 2 hours of their day voluntarily beach patrolling. So if somebody's in distress, they have to. So we wanted to bring the same system to India. We had massive support from Australian government as well. The Victorian Premier sent his right-hand man to India. I wrote the proposal, got it approved by the ministry, Karnataka Tourism Minister, Principal Secretary, DC. And unfortunately, it was blocked by the locals because one of the guy wanted it in his beach, but there's some local politics, and the whole project was stalled. This is back in 2016. But then that's when we tried doing some more projects in surf lifesaving in Udupi. We trained about 200 kids, and Karwar about 150 kids and about 60 adults in surf lifesaving. In turn, they've already saved about 25 to 30 lives. This is giving CPR, administering a cardiopulmonary resuscitation. If that was not administered, the life would have been lost by then. So that is a surf lifesaving story. But swimming story is the more successful one because that's more sustainable at the moment. It's continuing. So in Puttur from 2012, having pretty much no state medals. 2013, we had about 4 state medals. By 2014, we've had 3 national medals, about 25 state medals. By 2016, we had a national record holder, 3 international medals, over 100 state medals, and a team of around 38 kids and 3 coaches. So that was 2016. 2016, this was appreciated and looked by some bigger teams in Bangalore. And one of the pools, which was a Netakalap Aquatics Center, which at that time didn't have any mentor. It was in a bad shape. We had an opportunity to go there and introduce a refined system, what we had implemented in Puttur over there. So now today, in 3 years, we have 44 instructors and coaches. We have 1,000 people coming in for swimming every day. We have 380 pre-competitive swimmers and about 60 competitive swimmers of in international, national, state caliber. So it's a huge team now. And also more than that, I'm happy to tell you that our coaches are well educated in terms of swimming. Even though one of the coaches is only 9th standard pass, he can write workout in commit swimming, which a lot of the people who have done masters cannot write. So they're so well educated in swimming. They understand the physiology, they understand periodization, they understand the recovery system, even nutrition. They know the stroke mechanics inside out. They use modern technologies like Coach's Eye or Huddle technique. They take a video, they review these videos, and they find the corrections. And all of them have to gather every day. They have to spend 1 hour in educating themselves. And weekly once, one coach has to give a presentation on a topic to all the rest of the coaches. And this system's been going for the past 1.5 years. And we have a pretty strong team of swim coaches and swim teachers right now. One is that. The second thing I'm excited about and been working on developing poly athletes. So, um, I was fortunate enough to interact with many neuroscientists. Right now, currently at the farm, right now we have neurobiologist from New Jersey. She did her PhD from Boston University. She did a lot of postdocs from in Netherlands and also IISc India, IISc Bangalore, India. Dr. Mel Batson. So one of the things he keeps telling is talking about his muscle memory. So say if we swimming for for 10,000 hours. So basically we're talking about the pro swimmers. For them, the art of swimming is in their muscle memory. The brain doesn't have to think. It's a flow. But if they keep doing this swimming, the brain doesn't really develop because the cerebrum is not really activated. Only when you do some new things,
makes sense.
You activate your brain, and it is ready for. It's like a sponge. That's why kids' brains are like a sponge. As you become adults, not so much. But if you keep doing different new things, you keep your cerebrum part of your brain quite active, which is connected to your motor cortex or the parietal lobe, which makes the muscle do all these complex movements. So otherwise muscle can only hold, relax, or contract, which is isometric, eccentric, and concentric. That's the only three things they can do. It's the brain which gives them the command to do various things, right? So that connection is maintained if you do various kinds of sport, especially movement sports or action and adventure sports, like surfing, skateboarding, slacklining, poi, animal flow, capoeira, breakdancing, all these things. So what we're trying to do is we're getting the pro athletes. Like right now, one of my pro athletes is Likit ST. He represented India in 2019 FINA World Championship, which happened in Gwangju. Only 7 of Indian athletes went for that, for pool meets, events. He's also Olympic hopeful for the 2021, currently postponed to 2021. So we've been trying this on him. So that has been giving us results. Obviously, this is my opinion as a coach with my experience. I don't have any scientific data to back it up, but I have an athlete to back it up. His technique was not great when we started training him. He was a 103 100 breaststroker. Within 4 months, because we got him to do all these different things, he was able to refine his technique. Even though his strength went down, he dropped down from 76 kilos to 72 kilos. He was able to swim a 1020 100 breaststroke, which is a whole second faster than his previous best time. Before he was training in Austria with the coach who had world record holders. He was training with Dirk Lange, and before that he was training with Graham Hill in South Africa for 3 years. But he started performing way better after doing this program. So that's another thing. We are into movement sports and trying to connect the movement sports with a pro sport. I mean, not doing just the movement sport, but movement sports like once or twice a week to reactivate your brain. And I think this is the only way we can challenge the world out there by innovating something, but be innovative, because the world is so far ahead from us. Like I said, 1,200 people qualify. ACUT is a qualifying mark, which is basically the previous top 16th place in the Olympics, in the Olympic final. So that's what we do. So it's Varanashi Swimming Academy. It's not just me. There are a bunch of enthusiast people who think similarly, and we all come in together as one team, one entity, and we work with a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with the kids as well. Sorry, that was long.
No, but that was great. That was very comprehensive. Is there anything like this in India? Is there anything similar out there? Because I know you talked about how you guys have state-of-the-art facilities. You guys have some of the best teachers, some of the best coaches, and now, of course, tons of students as well. Anything similar out there in India?
I don't think anything similar is there in the world. I don't know, I've been Googling it. I mean, been trying to talk to people. So every time I ask this, I get some random answers. So, for example, when I talk about movement sport, right? I had the opportunity to go travel to World Championship in South Korea, and there was some amazing performances. Like, you've heard of Michael Phelps, right? He doesn't hold any other records anymore. Only very few of his records are still saved. As of 2019 World Championship, people smashed his record. One guy was Caleb Dressel, who broke his record in 100 fly, which people thought unbelievable, won't be beaten. It was smashed. So this kid, Caleb Dressel, super humble guy. I mean, got an opportunity to talk to him, down to earth, beast, right? He's a 6'5", and his shoulders are massive. Swims a 49.5 for 100 fly, but found out that he was a BMXer when he was a kid. He was doing all this motocross stuff as a kid. Was skateboarding, was surfing, all these things. So, and then now the USA Swimming is looking for kids who are doing who come from a multi-sport background. They're recruiting them and training them. Now, thing in US that can happen. In Australia that can happen because skateboarding is a very common thing. Everybody skateboards over there. Everybody surfs over there. Everybody does something or the other. In India, it's not there. So in India, the only thing we can do is, as an academy, instead of just focusing on teaching them swimming with the various states. So obviously in learn to swim phase, which is between the age of, say, 4 to 8 years, that's a learn to swim phase.
That's the first phase, right?
First phase, yeah, where you have to keep swimming the most fun thing they do. Like, they should absolutely love coming into the pool, love the people who train them, and learn very slowly all the fundamentals, and properly grind it and swallow the whole idea of aquatic movement. And then there comes the stage where they swim to train. They start doing a lot more swimming, holding their technique. At that time, if we can introduce them to this movement sport, okay, so from what I have understood in sports, there are 5 major concepts, which is agility, mobility, stability, flexibility, and body control. If you can master these 5 things, you can master any sport. The reason why I'm telling you this is there is a loop of learning, right? Any skill, there's a learning loop. The first thing is information. How do you do this sport, or how do you do this? What are the body movements required to do this? Okay, that information is held by the coach or the video you're watching. Okay, that's where the stimuli comes from to your brain. Once you have that information, you have an understanding of it, like what you make out of it. Okay, that's the perception. All right, so you understand the sport properly. That is a perception, and then comes the translation. So now translation is where people get stuck. Okay, a lot of people get stuck in perception if the coach is not giving the information properly. But if perception is clear, then comes the translation. So what you understand. So, for example, I'm going to teach you how to do a backflip, right? Just if you have the information to do backflip, can you do a backflip?
I cannot.
You need to be able to translate the information, right? To translate, the body needs these 5 things. The agility is the quickness, how quickly your body can react to a stimuli. Then stability is your balance. It's just not balance, it's a lot more than balance, but I can say that it's balance. Mobility is movement. If you have a full range of motion, or just it gets halfway, you get stuck, it's for all limbs. And then flexibility, obviously, what flexibility is, how flexible you are. This helps your mobility, also reduces injuries. And then body control. Body control is your motor cortex, how well they're connected. Cerebrum and motor cortex. Cerebrum has information. Motor cortex, the parietal lobe, which gives the signals, whether it's doing it properly. So if you develop these 5 things at the age between 8 to, say, 12, right? And then what happens? They're capable of performing better. So these 5 things, instead of just getting them to swim and bring that 5 things, the agility, mobility, I call it FABSM. Okay, FABSM. That's acronym for this
So
one.
it's
I just made up.
flexibility, agility, mobility,
Mobility,
stability, and what's the last?
and M was mobility. B for body control.
Body
Fab,
control. Oh,
FAB. Fab. I just mixed it up because Fabsm
understood.
sounds like awesome. Easy to remember. Fabsm. So you can bring that by bringing all these movements forward. So our athletes, in whether they're in Bangalore or they're in the farm or they're in the Puttur, they have a slack line. They have an access to slack line. They have a skateboard. They have a balance board. They do life saving sports. I take them to surfing every now and then, open water swims. They do a bit of a running. They play coco. They play basketball. All rock climbing. All these different things, which makes the hips, the cerebrum active, because that doesn't go to their muscle memory because they only occasionally do that thing, right?
Exactly.
At the same time, they also do swimming. I don't think anybody any academy in the world is doing this because they don't need to do properly. Because all this is a part of the community, the culture of that
In the
place.
US
Whereas
and
in
Australia,
India,
right?
correct.
Yeah,
Whereas, so they look for multi-sport people from multi-sport background.
exactly.
Whereas for us, we have to create that opportunity there.
Got it.
So
Understood.
this is why I believe it is not there anywhere in India, in the world, not just India. Uh, I mean, I hope so. I could be wrong, but I couldn't find anybody doing that so far.
Understood. So I definitely have a more lucid understanding of what this entire facility is about. I was slightly confused initially as to why you had so many different facilities within the campus that you have. But I'll just rephrase or I'll just summarize everything that you said so far, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the primary
Okay.
purpose of the facility that you have is to still train swimmers and produce top class swimming athletes out of the facility, but instead of just asking them to swim, because if they're just swimming, then what happens is then it just becomes a part of their muscle memory, then their autonomous or the semi-autonomous system kicks in, right? And so they aren't learning anything new in the process, as a result of which their brain development perhaps comes to a standstill. In order to prevent
Just
that from
adding
happening.
that. Yes. So if that happens, standstill happens, they won't be able to do corrections. So to go fast, it's always power plus technique, not just power. It's a low drag, high speed. So if you want to take that minor corrections, we cannot touch it. No matter how many times we tell them, yell them, tell them nicely, or make them do drills, it doesn't change because the body just says, look, I know how to do it. Don't tell me how to do it. That's the muscle memory.
Because
that's
it's so
why we
deeply hammered into the muscle memory, right?
Yes, that's why we do other sport, like you said. Yeah.
Makes sense. So that's why you are encouraging them to do other sports like movement sports, as you mentioned, say rock climbing, slacklining, and quite a few others that you mentioned. Exactly. Such that they can hone their flexibility, their agility, their body control, their mobility, as well as their stability. And once they're actually working on these, then their performances when they're swimming are also massively improved, and that's when they can easily change their technique as opposed to being stubborn.
Bingo.
Understood. That's superb. That's lovely. That's great. So I can clearly tell that there's a lot of research that this is backed by, right? You had conversations with neuroscientists, as you said. You've had conversations with some of the top coaches, swimmers, swimming coaches, swimming teachers all over the world, from Australia, from the US, and so a lot of this is backed by research, and a lot of this, I'm guessing, is backed by the fact that this is how our body responds to certain stimuli.
Correct. Yes.
Understood. So what are of course it's still like early days in many ways. I think this facility started off in 2012, you mentioned?
2012, yes. 2013 was our first camp. So there are two things, the three places where we work. One is this farm where there is staying facility for about 40 people, 40 swimmers, and then coaches. We have about 6 coaches of different backgrounds or strengths. And then there is one in Puttur. Puttur is a swimming pool, 25 meter. Okay. That's about, it's a small town. And then in Bangalore is Netakalappa Aquatics, and it's a huge swim center. It has 3 swimming pools, its own strength and conditioning place, its own ground. It's a huge facility in 4 acres land. So it's pretty big. So these 3 places, yeah. But right now I'm focusing on developing a this is a camp, but in future I want to do it as a school. So we have a school, 100-year-old school, which my mom is running. It's a society, education society. Also, what we're trying to do for recovery is having them here in the farm, in the forest, helps them recover better because they're eating organic food, which is grown in the farm. So there's no logistics involved in getting the food outside. So right now we are in lockdown. We are not getting anything from outside. The stuff we're getting from outside is probably soaps and toothpaste and salt we get from outside. We don't really use much sugar. We have honey. So most of the stuff is grown inside the farm, and also introduce them a little bit into agriculture and sustainable living and stuff. So not just swimming, I would say. It'll include teaching them some life skills and that as well. So going into the future, the plan is to build an academy where it's a residential academy where there is schooling, education as well, with 3 pillars. Education 33%, life skills, which is basically agriculture and building earth chips or eco-friendly houses and using the tools and stuff. And then another 33% is sports, which could be a pro sport and along with movement sports. So this is the idea going forward.